Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this Super Bowl week. Got a great show for you tonight. Now, this week, folks, got a really good guest-filled week. Tomorrow, 30 minutes past the hour, John Restano, big Chicago Bears fan, want to get his take on the new coaching hires, and of course, the Bears situation, not bringing in Cliff Kingsbury, still going with Eberflus. Maybe touch on, ask him a little bit about Ohio State and whatnot. Wednesday, today's Monday, no guest on tonight. But on Tuesday, I'll have that's Tuesday. Wednesday, I'll have Jeffrey Deskovic back on the program. We're going to talk about his Sports Illustrated article he had published a little while back. You know, Sports Illustrated's kind of fallen off. Going to have him back, get some takes on the basketball, and get his take on the Super Bowl as well. That'll be on Wednesday. And Thursday, I'll have Sonja Pearson. Sonja works with the Mac and Jack show, Northeast Streaming. I've been on programs with her before. She's out of the Atlanta area. Very well knowledge of the NFC South. Big Carolina Panthers fan. Originally gonna interview her, ask her about her background. What does she think about what's his name? Dave Canales, the new coach of the Carolina Panthers. Get some NFC South takes from her, and of course her Super Bowl lean. And of course Friday I'll have obviously Carlos Madden, New Yorker Chavez, and of course today this Patrick Mahomes story's been circling around about his dad. I want to talk about that, and while nobody should ask him about it, it's his father, it's not him. I'll talk about that. Ben Johnson, little back and forth there with Ben Johnson and the Commanders, plus the Commanders got an offensive coordinator there, Cliff Kingsbury. Got a lot to say about that as well. Also, what was this other deal here? Caitlin Clark, little bit of hate going on from the envious former WNBA player. I want to say Cheryl Swoops there, throwing a little shade, like my niece would say, at Caitlin Clark here, and not having her facts correct. Got a few takes there, and if I have some time left over, a few interesting sound bites from one of my favorites, Brad Holmes, the general manager of the Detroit Lions. So stand by. We'll take our first and only break. We'll hit the ground running here in 49 seconds. Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. As I led before, going to talk about this story here. Going to possibly take a different take than everybody else on this. Patrick Mahomes, senior father Patrick Mahomes, faces his third DUI charge. I was reading this off of Pro Football Talk out of Texas. Mahomes Sr. is a former Major League Baseball player. Father of the Chiefs quarterback Mahomes was arrested, suspicion for DUI on Saturday in Texas. It was his third DUI arrest for Mahomes. Kansas City Star arrest happened on Saturday in Tyler, Texas. The second charge occurred back in 2018. Mahomes Sr. pleaded guilty, sees 40 days because it was his second one. 40 days. He served time on the weekends from February 2019 to February 2020. While relevant to his son's situation become a potential distraction for Mahomes Jr. A week away, 3 years ago. This is from Pro Football Talk. Chiefs assistant Brett Reed, the son of Andy Reid, was involved in a serious accident that impaired a Thursday night before the Super Bowl. A young girl was seriously permanently injured as a result in the crash. The big deal on this one, Mr. Mahomes faces, back to his case, 2 to 10 years in prison since it's his third DUI offense. Okay, now, the reason why I said all that is there's a stat. I love watching this. A friend of mine, Antonia, a friend from work here, back in there during the pandemic, she had got she was telling me about this documentary, very popular documentary on at the time Netflix, called The Secrets. This talks about the laws of attraction and whatnot. And during that, because people talk about, they have dysfunction in their families and whatnot, and we all do. According to this study, it was 85% of people's families have some sort of dysfunction. I understand there's levels to that and everything. But my thing is that this case, last year, his brother, Mahomes' brother. Now, Mahomes, this is the downside to being a public figure, is anything that happens in your family, because he's famous. This guy's going for his third Super Bowl, and he's been in six AFC Championship games. He has been in how many Super Bowls now? This will be his fourth. He's 2-1. This will be his fourth Super Bowl, going for his third championship. This would put him, in my opinion, above Peyton Manning. He is getting he's got a $500 million contract. That don't count those dozens of commercials he's on. So this is the downside of that. Everybody that makes a mistake in your family, it gets printed. Websites around the country. You see it on the X app and whatnot. His brother had some issues where he's, what was it? I had to go back and look at the screen. So basically, some type of aggravated sexual battery charge, was grabbing some bar owner or something out in Kansas City. So he hears about that. His brother's in the news for all kinds of different things. That being said, all that being said, I think it was last year, kissing a lady at a bar on. I'm not the reporter that asked him this. That's Mahomes' father. That's his father. That should be his father's responsibility. That's the way I see it if I'm a reporter. And I've got a journalism degree. I wrote for the paper and loved that hard news and did everything. But I'm just not going to put that on Mahomes. I don't believe in that. We've all got people, friends, family, co-workers that are friends that do stuff. Most of us all, or maybe some of us have been that person that had gotten trouble and some kind of confusion, and you're in the middle of working like he is. He's locked in, trying to win his third Super Bowl, and the last thing I want to hear is, why did somebody do something? One guy I was listening to, I think it was Jason McIntyre. It was on his podcast. Now, it wasn't McIntyre. I want to say it was either McIntyre, one of his, the guy, helping him out, a co-host or whatever, and said something like he should be paying him for rides home. No, man. He's a grown man, Mr. Holmes. It was in Texas. Mahomes was in. Patrick Mahomes was probably still in Kansas City, preparing to make the trip to Las Vegas this week to prepare for the Super Bowl, do all that media hype and everything. And just before that happens, he gets arrested. That has nothing to do with Mahomes. I don't recall, in the media's defense, I don't recall them ever asking him anything about this with his brother last year. And I certainly don't recall, but he wasn't as famous in 2018, asking him about Mr. Mahomes' first or second DUI back in 2018. I just read about. I hope, well, it's media day coming up tomorrow. It might be today, but I didn't see it. Most certainly it'll probably be tomorrow. I don't think it'll be Wednesday, not unless they're moving around. I really hope that nobody drills him on this, Patrick Mahomes. Because there is no, I mean, I've had a guy I used to work with, and, guy was a good worker. I was his supervisor, good worker, a lot older than me. He's like my dad's age. And he asked me if I could give him a work reference. I said, yeah, he comes to work on time. He's a good guy at work. So I give him this work reference. And it wasn't a work reference. It was one of those loan references, okay? And like a check cashing loan, one of those high interest loans. It wasn't a bank loan or anything like that. So time goes by, and he doesn't pay 6-8 months from now. He's not paying this loan back. And I had stopped working with this gentleman for 2 or 3 years at this point. And these people were calling me at work about him. And I said, listen, I worked with this guy a few years ago. I thought he was asking for a job reference. He's a good worker. I have no way of paying this person's loan back. I don't know where he is. I've called him. He's not answering. Okay. Don't call. But I finally got a hold of him after I got this lady off the phone. I said, hey, man, listen, don't put my name down on one of those high interest check cashing loan places. Well, I told him not to call you. I just put that down when I first got it. Well, they're still calling me about your loan. I'll take care of it. 3 weeks later, people still calling me. So I had to cut that guy off because of that. There is nothing more irritated than somebody in your circle, friend or family, asking you, dialed in on some kind of job task. They're out here screwing up to ask me about your problem. Now, if that was Patrick Mahomes' son, he was a teenager, that's different. But that's his father. His brother's 23, 24. Mahomes is like 29 or whatever, 28, 29. And both of those are accountable for their own actions. That's what I say about it. It's really unfortunate. But it goes to show you, you got to look at a guy like Mahomes. I mean, he's the face of the NFL. He's I think his first year starting was 18, if I'm not mistaken. Because remember, he backed up Alex Smith one year. The guy's been in the AFC Championship game every single year. Every single year. This is his fourth Super Bowl. I just mentioned the $500 million contract. Beautiful wife, kids. It seems like everything is going perfect. And then you hear something like this, third DUI. This sounds like this has been a problem and a distraction. He won't say it publicly. But, hey, everybody's got dysfunctional people in their family and friends and circle. When you've got somebody with a problem like that around you, I'm just going by what's reported. This is third DUI from Mr. Holmes. That is a distraction. Even though the people that are responsible for it don't want to act like it's a distraction. Sometimes they take responsibility. But that stuff is a distraction, That is a distraction. So I really commend him for maintaining focus during all this, even though the man's grown and everything. I get it. But it takes me back to one of my favorite teachers, Richard, if you're watching, Hunters Lane High School, 1998, my second semester there. Really good teacher, Mr. Baltz. Taught Shakespeare, taught English 2 in high school. Great teacher, great communicator. This guy went to Notre Dame, was a former lawyer, 6-figure, highly successful lawyer. You could tell by the way this guy dresses to the nines. Crisp. Most popular teacher probably in the school at that time. I took him twice. He's a great teacher, really good. And he said that, sometimes on the weekends, I go see my brother in the penitentiary, so don't judge people by their family, People just decide to go. Some of us, you have problems and you've got dysfunction. I get it. But others have the same raising, the same family, and one person wants to go in one direction and another person wants to go in another direction. And that's what Mr. Boss was saying. Not everybody's got the perfect life. There's some bad seeds in every family, But he says, I go see my brother in the prison. Sometimes on the weekends, whenever I get a chance. Not every weekend, he said, but I go see my brother in prison. I guess it's saying, try not to judge a person that's trying to work hard, do the right thing by the mistakes that their family makes, And that just made me think about that. Like I said, according to that study, out of the Secret documentary, 85% of families, I want to say it's either nationally or globally, but I'm pretty sure it was just nationally, have dysfunctional families, and it's unfortunate. But again, I'm not the guy who asked Patrick Mahomes that question, because that's placing the responsibility on the son when it should be on the father, is what I'm getting at. And I'm sure Mr. Mahomes will probably own it and say, hey, look, I made a mistake, I made a mistake. You see him a lot on the sidelines with Mahomes. I saw him in a documentary last year, and his wife is like, God, we got to get him out of there, because remember, Mahomes had the high ankle sprain. He's hobbling around. That'll be in his Hall of Fame. And Mr. Mahomes, like, he ain't got it in him. He just don't have it in him to do that. So anyways, we'll see how that thing plays out here. Also, in other news, if I can find it here in my notes here. Okay, now, been some interesting stuff about this Ben Johnson saga with the Commanders here. The Commanders been in the news, good and bad, indifferent. The good and the bad and the ugly, if you want to call it that. More comes out about Ben Johnson, why he did not, the offensive coordinator for Detroit, why he did not take that job at the Commanders. A lot of conflict in reports. It feels like they're trying to save face. He's trying to save face. I don't know which side to take here, but it's interesting. Okay. This Janelle Lane from ESPN. I've never heard of her, but I got this off the X out. Cameron Wolf is a reporter. I've heard of him. He's the guy I follow. And she's saying, was told that Ben Johnson was turned off by the Commanders ownership, that they're basketball guys, and felt a little too confident in their football opinions. And I also heard that he didn't interview well. He said, but clearly not a good fit for both sides. Okay. Then Jason Reed, another ESPN personality, said, been tied up working, so I missed the report on Buck Johnson supposedly interviewed so poorly with the Commanders, being the reason he informed the team he wouldn't take the job. Okay, so maybe they're trying to save face. Maybe he's not a good interview. He didn't take, like I said this before, Johnson didn't take the Carolina job last year and wanted to come back to Detroit. The guy's only 37 years old. I said it looked bad for Dan Quinn to hire a guy like Dan Quinn when they already had a defensive-minded head coach there. But if they can get the quarterback and a good offensive coordinator here, which is very rare, I much rather prefer to get the offensive-minded head coach and a good defensive coordinator. Obviously, you always want a good quarterback, but if you can get a good quarterback and potential franchise player type of quarterback, then you got a chance. Okay. Then you got a chance. Then this other flip side comes up. In the good news for Dan Quinn and the Commanders, after all that blew over on Saturday, later on Saturday night, it breaks, late Saturday afternoon, kind of a roller coaster kind of day, a week for Commander fans in the Commander Nation out there. Very popular organization. Talked to, was a guy, Mike Richmond, very good author, wrote many books about the Redskins, Commanders, and whatnot. But basically, Cliff Kingsbury was supposedly going to take this Las Vegas Raiders job, okay, and that was supposed to have been a done deal, and then all of a sudden, contract talks break down. You're just wondering if the Raiders are trying to lowball him or whatnot, or he was still being recruited by the Commanders to take that job, and Harris was want to make the big splash. He goes in, ups the ante, and then they make this close here. So now he's going to take the offensive coordinator job, Cliff Kingsbury, with the Washington Commanders, going back to what I talked about last Friday and, of course, last week, that the Caleb Williams situation, reports from his dad's camp on the Colin Cowherd show, saying that he didn't want, kind of pulling Eli Manning and John Elway. This is not the first time that he just don't want to play for the Bears. This guy does not want to play for the Bears. The number 2 pick is the Washington Commanders. Maybe all this stuff has kind of been talked about behind the scenes, ironically. And Cliff Kingsbury, who was an assistant there under Lincoln Riley with USC, takes that Washington Commanders offensive coordinator job, being the number 2 post. So that tells me either they're going to trade that pick, or they're simply not going to draft Caleb Williams with that number 1 pick. For one thing, Justin Fields is still there, and that's going to be a good question to ask John Rossano tomorrow, who is a really big Chicago Bears fan. See, what does he think about keeping Justin Fields? You got potentially much more talented quarterbacks in a. Now, Mel Kiper saying Jalen Daniels could go. He's going to go number 2 now in his big board over Drake May. Caleb Williams still stands firm as the top prospect in the NFL. Now, of course, we haven't even got to the air quote league new year. I want to say that starts on March the 13th. We're a little over a month out from that happening. We're pretty close to Valentine's Day now. About a month out, March 13th, that will happen. Then we'll see if the Bears are going to keep Justin Fields. All that being said, there's a very good chance that Caleb Williams is a Commander come April at the first pick overall. Then you have a Cliff Kingsbury and a Dan Quinn. Things can go from very doom and gloom because you get a Dan Quinn, who I'm not a big fan of. But last time Dan Quinn had a really good offensive coordinator, I think Kingsbury's probably offensive coordinator material only. Been fired twice. He got fired from Texas Tech, and he's been fired from the Arizona Cardinals. But he does run a pretty good scheme there. But runs a good scheme. When Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator with Dan Quinn, with that Atlanta team, they got to the Super Bowl. Okay? So that's something, if you're a Commanders fan, you got to be a little bit excited about, okay? Even if, say, somebody else jumps them both and takes Caleb Williams with the number 1 pick. What if the Patriots jump up there and get Caleb Williams or somebody like that, What if the Giants surprise everybody and make that big jump? They jump up there from 5, move off Daniel Jones, and get a Caleb Williams, let him work with the Brian Daboll. Well, then you still got that number 2 pick. You can a Jalen Daniels pick. I can see a Cliff Kingsbury type of offense that he ran with Arizona, putting in a Kyler Murray, that Kyler Murray type of offense. I could see that with the Commanders. So there's a lot to be excited about from that news story. You totally forget about the Ben Johnson stuff, And going back to Ben Johnson, again, maybe he's just really is a bad interview. And maybe he's like a Matt Patricia or a Josh McDaniels from the Patriots at a very good situation, very good scheme, really good probably not very argumentative type of guy, and he could stand behind the big bad Dan Campbell, who would take all the bullets, who doesn't care what the media says, who'll go for him fourth down every time, and he's not going to get any heat for it. I think Dan Campbell embraces all that. He loves that. So it's just kind of a weird situation how the back and forth is stuff. I think maybe his agent is trying to keep his stock high. Maybe the ideal job will come open next year for maybe that. Hey, they might go back to the Super Bowl. I got some quotes here if I got time. Looks like I'm going to have plenty of time to play from Brad Holmes. A lot of this spiking the ball. There was a press conference I thought was pretty interesting. Sorry. A lot of cottonmouth today, folks. So anyways, this could potentially be huge for, I mentioned, even with the defensive-minded head coach, could this be a D'Amico Ryan situation where you got a Bobby Slowick there and you got the C.J. Stroud, where Slowick is a little bit more experienced, Cliff Kingsbury, and you got a Jalen Daniels or even a Drake May, who, like I said the other day, is being compared to Carson Palmer, which is not a bad comparison by any means, folks. Let's see if I had any more. Okay, yeah. So I got all that taken care of. All right, now. Okay, it's interesting article. Let me say this. Had a good weekend this weekend. The only sports I watch, I'll be honest with you, I'm not saying this for the program. The only sports I watched last weekend, it was a dark week. We didn't have the NFL. Big Super Bowl coming up this weekend. Again, I got a packed full week of guests coming up, starting tomorrow all the way through Friday with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. And I tell you what, I kept hearing this promo on Fox for Caitlin Clark. And Fox has got this NBA on NBC promo thing that dun, 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 Jeffrey Devaskip will know. For those of you to watch the NBA on NBC back in the 90s and early 2000s, which was the heyday, really. So they're playing that, and Caitlin Clark, I thought this woman had graduated last year. She's the phenom player. She's in the national championship game last year. Angela Reese from LSU. LSU won the national championship, but she's dogging this chick out, and they've won the game. Getting jealous of her, all the media coverage. But wow, she sells out everywhere she goes. This chick is a rock star. I didn't realize this, but Caitlin Clark, who was just a 4-year starter, and I'll explain that here in just a little bit. Just a 4-year starter here, is going for the all-time women's points record. And by the way, I watched her play Saturday night. She played against Maryland. I mean, she is shooting them from 35, 40 feet out. She's very Steph Curry, like I said before when I gave you my review over in the national championship game. She, like my dad will say, she's putting them out there from the popcorn stand. Caitlin Clark is. So she's sitting here at, we still got some games to go. She's chasing Kelsey Plum from Washington at 3,527 all-time points. She's sitting here at 3,462. So we're talking, 80, 90 points away from being the all-time leader here. And, then you get the haters come out there, You get the haters coming out there, and I'm surprised. Awful Announcing said this. This was not from Jason Whitlock. A lot of this stuff, but Cheryl Swoops, former WNBA player, college player, this headline is Cheryl Swoops roasted for inaccurate Caitlin Clark accusation. She goes on and makes a comment. Swoops, very well known college and WNBA player, taking shots at Clark, talking about the COVID thing. She's assuming. So listen up. Listen what she said about Clark.
This isn't just for Caitlin, but you asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record? I don't know.
You think exactly how I
don't think so, but yeah, that'll go in the record books as Caitlin Clark is the all-time, whatever it is. I don't even know what the number is, but that's the way it'll be. And I don't think it should be.
And the sad part is that record would never be broken because
that tells you. It's funny. Kudos to Awful Announcing. They kind of walk gingerly with these type of idiotic comments. And Gilbert Arenas, that's who I thought it was she's talking to. And funny coach said, Bad News Bears, funny movie, old movie, funny movie. They made 2 or 3 of them. One of them, this guy is talking to some 10-year-olds like they're Major League Baseball players. And he said, and I know what he's talking about. And this other guy's walking, I think it's the Walter Matthau character. And he's walking to these kids. And and this old man and he's writing, and this movie took place in the 70s, totally politically incorrect. We saw beer there and stuff. He says, do not assume. So he breaks down the word ASSUME. That's what happens when you assume. And I think he's talking about fly balls. Don't assume the person's going to get it. You got to make sure and communicate that. Or don't assume that he knows you're going to get the ball. That's what he was getting at. People running in each other or the fly ball falling between the players. Very common with young players. But Cheryl Swoops assumed, because of the COVID year, that Caitlin Clark, only being 5'11", and let's just be frank, because she's white, and there's always, that's the thing. That's what Jason Whitlock's talking about. This racial undertone that you see a lot on social media when you got 2 former athletes here talking and nobody here to fact check anybody. She assumed that she played half the COVID year and sit out. No, that was her first year. That was her first year. This woman thought that she was in her 5th year and she had free games through the COVID year. She assumed, So Caitlin Clark is just sharp, man. She's like Steph Curry out there. And now this coach is giving her free reign to shoot from anywhere. And she's hitting these shots, When I was playing in the 90s in the high school, I'd get in trouble for shooting that. I mean, I shot threes when I was playing at the Y team, but I wouldn't shoot that far out. I'd get in trouble for that. Most players would, other than Steph Curry and Caitlin Clark. This woman had like 12 assists the other night, 39 points, and looked like she barely broke a sweat against Maryland. And she's on the pace. I thought it was just me. I didn't realize she's this good. She's on the pace. Like I said, she's 90 points from getting the all-time record. She's the most interesting player I saw last weekend. Didn't watch much of that. The Knicks game, LeBron set out. Whatchamacallit was hurt. One of the lead players there, Randall. Randall was out for the Knicks. They won anyways. The Lakers beat the Knicks. And then I watched Oppenheimer, which is a really good movie, by the way. I got to finish that. Now, that's a Academy Award nominated movie about the man who, Dr. Robert Oppenheimer, who made the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project, studied that in high school and college, took it in U.S. history. Good movie. A lot of talking. A friend of mine at work was telling me, man, it's too much talking, but it's good, but it's long. And I say, man, it's dramatic. If you know the history of the importance of the atomic bomb and the war in Japan, how it kept just dragging on with the kamikazes, that was really interesting. That was an intense time in American history. Good movie. Haven't finished it. Got about 30 minutes left. Started watching it last night, but that Caitlin Clark, I can't believe I watched her again, but hey, she was pretty good, man. She's pretty good. And then, of course, these haters here, your Sheriff Swoops of the world, but we shall see. We shall see Wuku Saki. Okay, now, I had let me see if I have any other notes here. Ben Johnson, Holmes, good news. Okay, now, Brad Holmes. He was doing a press conference today. I'm not sure what this was, but this leaked out. I think today's media day because they're saying Mahomes draw a large cloud. So I haven't heard anything else. So here is Brad Holmes. This is the Detroit Lions general manager that I've been bragging on. It has not received enough credit. Everybody said Dan Campbell. Those great speeches. Herb Edwards was a great speaker. He did not have the players. Didn't have the quarterback play. Simply, Chad Pennington stayed hurt with that Jets team. They played well. Without Chad Pennington, who was often hurt, they went downhill. But that guy's a great motivator. You play to win the game. Remember that one, folks? But all that stuff means no, never mind. If you do not have the blocking up front, if you do not have the quarterback play, and the talent's being drafted in here. And here is, I got this from Ari Moreau. I think he's with Pro Football Focus here. This guy's got some good stuff here lately. I think he also has the 33rd Team website. He says, amazing. Brad Holmes cashing. This is the Lions general manager, which he should. I agree. What I'm about to play, I agree with everything Mr. Holmes says, the manager GM for the Lions says in this stuff. Pulled off a great trade there to get Jared Goff and everybody, and I still stand by it to this day. What they picked, everybody said that they should take the receiver. I actually thought that the guy that they took, Penei Sewell, I thought, again, I still stand by this. I love Jamar Chase. He's a great player. I thought Cincinnati should have took Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell, yeah, he got moved to right tackle, but man, is he is a great offensive lineman. But a lot of people said they should have took a quarterback. So here's Brad Holmes saying, hey, listen, man, I was right and you guys are wrong.
But when you look back at those picks, and those picks were not welcome by many in this room. You know, Dave, you want us to pick quarterback. You didn't want us to pick Penei Sewell. You know, people didn't want us to wait till the fourth round to draft a wide receiver. People didn't want to wait on a Derek Barnes too.
That fourth round pick was Ottomon St. Brown. That's their number one receiver now. Listen up.
Develop. But every single move was intentional and was made with intention. You know, back in 2021, we did not have multiple ones. We did not have multiple twos. We did not have 4 picks in the first 100, you know. Now, we did have that, and we used those wisely. You guys didn't agree, but we used those picks wisely. But we had one extra pick in 2021. We had a comp third. That was Ife Melifonwu. Carlos, I know you said that was a miss, but that was the only extra pick. So what I'm saying is that's not required to sustain what we built. going forward. So,
how does it make you feel when you make a decision that isn't well received by everybody, but still standing on your 2 toes and going forward? I mean, just making
by everybody or you included?
No, I mean just anybody. I ain't really have it. I ain't say too much today. Deal with it, but just going forward, picking those
smaller things.
That's not a criticism. I'm just saying. I mean, it seems like you're enjoying it a little bit.
No. It's. I'll say this. I'm big on accountability, and I think y'all would expect me to be accountable when I'm.
He's spiking the ball, saying he's big on the. Hey, listen, he could spike the ball. He took this team that had multiple first-round picks, overall picks, 2008. They went through numerous coaches, hadn't hosted a playoff game since 19 and 30 years, 91, 92, hadn't been to the AFC championship game, I want to say since 1983. 10 years before that, we're talking 40-something years, where they showed with the 49er game, well, they actually brought a lion to the stadium. I don't know how they don't do that crap now, and he's only on a chain. So here's more from Brad Holmes spiking the ball. I love this. The general manager.
When things don't go right,
Detroit.
You would expect me to be accountable. And I am. I feel I'm a very accountable person. I think when you heard so much negativity about our draft, and then when I said, look, wait till they start playing football, you'll be appreciative. When they started playing football and people started giving them credit, the negativity kind of just, everybody forgot about it. Nobody, I give probably 2 people credit in this room that said, you know what, I was wrong. And I appreciate that. And I respected that. But just the other about, you knew they were wrong. And then oh man, these rookies are playing so well. Or you hear many people gave him backlash. Or, oh man, there were some people that, no, it wasn't many. It was you.
He's pointing at one of the actual.
No, you gave him backlash.
Press.
So it's just having accountability.
That's in the room.
That's all it is. But again, like I said, I'm not here to. I told you so. Again, I told you so was when we selected the players. You just got to get through the post-draft wave.
Yeah, I love Brad Mahomes here. It seemed like he had another one here. Here's Brad Mahomes doesn't want to hear this season was a Cinderella story, and that's true. They got some of their best players are rookies. Jamar Gibbs was a rookie. Sam Laporta, he's balling. He was at 98 catches. This is a rookie tight end looking like Travis Kelce in his prime out there. 98 catches here. Here's him talking about they're not sitting, and I agree with them. They could be back next year. Brad Holmes, the general manager, the architect of this great comeback story with Detroit.
What I want to tell really our fans is, look, it's only going to get better, okay? We're only going to get better, all right? I don't want anybody to think that this was a one-shot Cinderella magical journey that just happened. No, it's real, all right? This is exactly what it was supposed to happen. And I understand that based on history, from what's happened in the past, like I understand you have a season like this, it's easy to feel like this was kind of a one-shot, magical, lucky, cute story, which I'm tired of hearing. It was none of that. It's easy to think that, but no, every move that me and Dan make, it has been made to sustain what we are building. All right, every single move, and I'll say every single move we make and every single move we do not make is to sustain what we have been building. So it's real. Look, it's all to normalize what we're doing, all right? This is to normalize it. This is an effort.
Yeah, being normal, getting that stench of losing year after year after year after year off of you. I think they did that, not this past year, but the year before that. The team was used to losing. They started off 0-6. A lot of rumblings about Dan Campbell maybe get fired right off the bat. Well, they fired their defensive back coach. And it was after the Cowboy game last year. I remember this. And then they started putting together something. They put together some upset wins. They upset they knocked the Packers out of the playoffs. Aaron Rodgers last year knocked him out. Okay. You have to get habits in the NFL, in life and everything. You got to get in a habit of losing or a habit of winning. You know, they have been such a habit of losing, even though the talent was there at the beginning of last year. The coaching was there at the beginning of last year, you know, but the habit of losing was not there yet. It had not sunk in yet. Then you started to get in the habit of winning with all those dividends. Now, he didn't talk about that, but I'm saying all the dividends from which are still paying off that Jared Goff, Matt Stafford trade. You know, the jury's still out. It seems like a win-win trade right now. But I'll say this. And this could very well happen, this is the big $64,000 question. What are you going to do with Jared Goff? How much are you going to pay Jared Goff? Are you going to let him go in on a rookie contract? Will his agent let him play, not a rookie contract, last year of his contract? He's on a contract year this year. Will you do that and let him play out? Part of me would like to just see him try to do that. I think he wants to come play with Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson wanted to come back and play with this team. Free agents wanted to come to Detroit last year. They still got some money. They get some more free agents this year. Add some more pieces to that defense so they're not constantly giving up big plays in the passing game. Maybe get another pass rusher, get another linebacker, you know. My guess is they'll probably sign him to something. I don't think they're going to break the bank with a big, giant $40 million year, $200 million contract. But I got a feeling that could happen. I would try to work out some type of Geno Smith, heavily incentive-based contract for Jared Goff, personally. That's what I would try to do. But, you know, Brad Holmes, I trust. That's why I wanted to play that there from their press conference today or whatever. Also, I did want to say some few news and notes here. Okay. Now, this is some news out of the NCAA. The National Labor Relations Board has ruled that the Dartmouth basketball players are considered employees of the school. They would now be able to proceed with voting to form a union. This could have enormous implications for college athletics. That's again from Ari Marov. That's from his X site. This guy, like I said, it's got the 33rd team. That could be huge for college. Again, I've talked about this Friday with Carlos Madden, New Yorker, Chavez. These college coaches, they feel like they're running semi-pros right now. All right. I mean, you start setting up unions and all. Maybe it'll make it better. Maybe it'll make it better because if you got a guy under some type of contract, you can't have another team. And there's been rumblings that this is happening. Okay, that players are being recruited. There was a report Drake May was being recruited while he was still the quarterback, not this past year, but the year before, to go to SEC school for several $1 million while he was an actual quarterback at North Carolina. That's against the rules, okay? He wasn't in the transfer portal. They were through third party, so you couldn't do that. That would be a violation. So this would be crazy talk, but like I said, this ruling right here, that broke late. I might go into more of that story tomorrow if there's a big write-up on it. I talked about it last week. Very relatable story. NCAA coming down on Tennessee about NIL rules. Tennessee saying those NIL rules that the NCAA is trying to enforce are antitrust, against federal law violations. The Attorney General for Tennessee and Virginia has come after the NCAA and filed suit against the NCAA on that. And now you have this thing with the Dartmouth basketball players considered employees of the school, so they can vote on a union. Listen, man, I mean, there's a lot of people that have been making money for years and years and years off these college players. A lot of the older fans do not like this. I know it's uncomfortable to watch. The transfer portal, you want to have this year's for development, not trying to keep players. But that being said, you just cannot make money off people and their name, image, and likeness and expect just because they're college athletes that you can get away with that when you cannot do that in any other walks of life. Okay. It's hard to tell a person not to go out and earn money for their own name, image, and likeness in any other walk of life that's in college. Like a person got an art scholarship and they had a big painting, they could still make money from that painting. Or if they were a big time actor and got called up from Juilliard or whatever and got in a movie, that's not going to run their scholarship. You could actually, at one time, you could go play baseball professionally and come back and play football. So I don't know how that we've got around and skated by these rules for so long. That's why the Supreme Court said, no, that's a person can capitalize on their own name, image, and likeness. And it was 9-0 cross party lines on the Supreme Court. You know, so a flip side is these old timers, they're set in their ways. Your Jay Wrights, Nick Saban, guys, I enjoy watching their teams play. Villanova's Jay Wright's team, Nick Saban's Alabama team. Still bummed out, really, but we have to accept things for what they are. Change, nobody likes change, but you know, like Sheryl Crow, change can do you good. Change is inedible. Sometimes we need change. I know I need change. You know, I like to move to a different location, a more mild climate. I like to be doing Sports Scope year round. I would like just to be focusing on this program and having great guests and extending the time rather than do carrier work, you know. So a lot of press conferences today. Raheem Morris said he told Sean McVay he was jealous of his relationship with Les Snead. Basically, he was saying that, you know, he surrounded himself with people that he can learn from, and they can collaborate together. Let me see. I play this. This is also from Ari Moreau. This guy's on the ball today. Raheem Morris really sounds seasoned as a coach here. And his second stint as a head coach here's with the Atlanta Falcons. I'll play.
When I got there, one of the first things I told Sean, just noticing how we moved the daily rhythm and routine and things that we've done, was, man, I am jealous of you and Les Snead's relationship. I said, to watch you guys collaborate and move in silence, be able to talk about everything, have your communication ongoing, have your communication consistent, honest, open, all of those things that you guys do with each other. That is the next step. The maturity level that you get from that and being able to watch that, and also talking to one of your really good friends while you're winning the championship, having the ability to go through some hard times that following year, having to start off with a really young team and start with your fundamentals, start with your physicality, start with controlling the ball, starting with some of those pillars. I thought it was a really cool process. It was a really cool learning experience for me. You know, there was no more fun than helping one of your best friends in the world, one of the people that you care about, winning the championship with an organization is 100%, right? When you're 32 years old, you got all the answers. Right?
He's talking about himself. Young coach, he got hired. This is Raheem Morris when he got hired with the Tampa Bay Bucks 15 years ago. Now 47, a lot more seasoned. Listen up.
And I'll tell you, right? And what you find out is a learning process every single day. And you better be able to lean on people and talk to people and find out what is the best thing that works, right? when I took this job and I got offered it, right, by Terry and Arthur, obviously making the decision, but I told him in my interview process, I said, hey, I don't need to be the smartest person in the building. I want to hire, I want to be contribute, I want to collaborate with all the smart people that you
See, now that type of attitude probably why he got hired, you know. Raheem Morris, he's saying the right things. Now they're going to have to get a quarterback as well. A lot can change on getting the right quarterback and not getting the right quarterback on a head coach's, particularly a defensive-minded head coach's success here. Yeah, today's got to be media days. It's a huge crowd there. I'm just looking on the Excel there in Las Vegas, and I hope nobody tries to hold Patrick Mahomes responsible for his dad's actions again. So if you'd like the show, share the show. Tomorrow, folks, I'll be back. John Restano, one of my favorite guests here. I want to ask him about the Bears situation, get some quick takes on these new NFL coaching hires. And also, there was a report also, I'll ask him, Bill O'Brien. I want to say that there was a report. He's looking into possibly taking that Boston College job while he's already accepted the Ohio State offensive coordinator. That story's still developing. We'll go over that with him tomorrow. I don't know if that one has went through yet all the way. So anyways, I'll be back here same time, same place here tomorrow on Sports Scope. Have a good night, everybody.